Hey everybody, it's Party Elite with another episode of Total Breakdown. Not just any episode, this is episode number 100. So, to make things just a little bit more special, I'm going to showcase an interesting 2v2 battle that was sent in through Discord a while ago. So I am opening Total Breakdown up to 2v2s, 3v3s, etc., and eventually free-for-alls, but they're not going to be as common as 1v1s. Now, if you're not already a member of our Discord, make sure you check the invite link down below in the description, and of course, make sure you keep sending in your own battles for future episodes of Total Breakdown. With that lengthier than usual introduction out of the way, let's dive into this battle between Eldritch Davie and Dracoknight's Wood Elf Greenskin Alliance and Ninjahund and Vikingcat91's Wood Elf Empire Alliance. Alright, despite both alliances fielding the Wood Elves, you'll see they have two very different approaches to the battlefield. Let's start with a conversation about what we're going to call the Blue Alliance here between the Greenskins and the Wood Elves. Now, the Greenskins are brought in by Skarsnik, who does have Stand Your Ground, Wah, Spite of the Bad Moon, and Trixie Traps. We also have these two units of Goblin Big Bosses, and these guys are on Spiderback both, so they have poison damage with them as well. While back here, the Night Goblin Shaman is bringing Sneaky Stealin', Sneaky Stabbin', Itchy Nuisance, Gorkle Fixit, and a Scroll of Shielding. In charge of the Wood Elves, we do have the Glade Lord atop a Forest Dragon, as you can see, with the Eye of Kurnos, a Potion of Strength, a Potion of Toughness, the Arrow of Kurnos, and the Prey of Anathrema. We also have a Branch Wraith here, bringing in Smoke and Mirrors, Call of the Woods, Earthblood, the Penumbral Pendulum, and another Scroll of Shielding. So a lot of Scrolls of Shieldings there. We also have the, of course, rest of the army. Up front, we have these Glade Guard with their Starfire Shaft, 4 unit, able to cause some fire damage. Right behind them, 3 units of Orc Biggins, able to dive in and protect these guys if they need to fall behind the front line, while these 4 units of Eternal Guard with shields are there to either dive into the front line and provide support, or of course, pull back and deflect any enemy large units that might come charging in. Very clever use of the terrain as well, using this to sort of block the entry from this angle, forcing the enemy to have to think about circumventing that boulder there and go around, giving enough time to actually respond to any movement like that. Then on the left over here, you'll see we do have these 3 Black Orc units able to push forward and come in with side or rear charges if the opportunity presents itself, or alternatively, hold back enemy units that are coming from this side, while we do also have the Wild Riders on either flank, alongside the Orc Boarboy Biggins, able to work together to, again, shut down any flanking maneuvers or push in for some aggression of their own, of course, while the Goblin Wolf Riders are able to push in with some rear charges once lines meet, if they are able to stay hidden, and I think a bit of misplacement there. They're not actually hidden whatsoever. They are quite visible. Meanwhile, back here, we do have the Rusty Errors as well as Mogreb's Mangy Marauders, and these guys, of course, able to provide that range support, get those shots in, reduce enemy armor with Armor Sundering, just to make sure that some of these non-armor piercing units are able to cause a decent amount of hurt as well. Now, on the other side of the field, we have a much wider layout. As you can see, we've got the Empire on the left and the Wood Elves to the right. So let's start with the Empire over here in the Red Alliance. The General of the Empire in charge, coming in with Foe Seeker, a Potion of Foolhardiness, and a Potion of Toughness. We've also got a Light Wizard over here. You can see, if I can just get my cursor to highlight the Light Wizard, we've got the Net of a Mintok, of course. We've got Foz Protection as well as Arcane Conduit. Then, the Wood Elves are led by Durthu himself, and he's coming in with Wildheart, Flock of Doom, Foe Seeker, and the Sword of Daith, while his Branch Wraith is coming in with Smoke and Mirrors, Call of the Woods, Earthblood, and Foe Seeker as well. Now, the armies themselves, you can see the Empire decides to come in with a lot of Flagellants, Sigmar's Sons, as well as the Tattersoul. So these guys are unbreakable, while on either flank we do have the Spearmen, making sure that any large units that are coming in from this side or maybe pushing in this way will be easily deflected, or these guys can, of course, fold in and provide some support to the center if any trolls or giants decide to come in instead. Up front, we do have these handgunners as well as the Silver Bullets. These guys can get some shots in while front lines are waiting to engage, and of course they can peel off to the side as well to get shots in from the sides, while at the back here we have these Reiksguard as well as Zinthor's Reiksguard, again able to push around wherever necessary to provide some support, get some rear charges, get some side charges, whatever might be needed. The Wood Elves have deployed themselves relatively separately compared to the Blue Alliance. You can see we have a straight line of Dryads here, while the Treekin are able to provide some support in what is the center of the overall deployment, and we also have, of course, Durthu in here, as we saw earlier, alongside 2 Treemen marching together to help the Empire survive and hopefully defeat the Greenskins and their allies. So let's kick this battle off and take a look at how this all breaks down. So right away, the Red Alliance does push forward. Very aggressive build they have, so pushing forward and probably hoping to get a surround going in, getting an envelopment, and you'll notice almost right away the Blue Alliance here takes more of a back foot position to this battle. So let's kick it up a notch over here, and you'll see as these Black Orcs are pushing forward, the Glade Guard are pushing off to the side here because they see all the trees coming in from that left flank. That left aggression is full of wood, so the best response to that, of course, is fire. Meanwhile, on the right here, you'll see we've got the handgunners as well as the silver bullets peeling off to the side, and these two spearmen over here as well, joining them, making sure that they have some protection if these wild riders over here decide to get adventurous. So good call there, splitting off the army a little bit, trying to get that range support, while you'll see over here the Glade Lord does open some shots off, just to get a little bit of hurt into these handgunners, I suppose, while back here, the rest of the army does seem a little messy, but it's just reorganizing based on enemy aggression. While all the way off to the side here, you'll see these Wild Riders getting pretty aggressive, hoping to get some early damage into these Dryads, so not a bad call at all. If you can damage the enemy flank from the get-go, you can do a decent amount of work in terms of a tactical advantage. So you'll see they push in, toss these Dryads around, trees be damned, and they're taking a lot of damage instantaneously. They're going to fall apart pretty quickly there on that left flank, and meanwhile over here you'll see a bit of a waste, in my honest opinion, in my humble opinion, a bit of a waste here as the net of a Mintok goes down just to hold the Glade Lord in place, also forcing the Maghrab's Minji Marauders in place here. But the Glade Lord wasn't being very aggressive to begin with, so a bit of a waste there in my opinion. Meanwhile, over here, you'll see we have the Flock of Doom going down. Not a bad call at all. Trying to hurt some of these Eternal Guard with shields and some of these ranged support units just to make sure they get some damage early on. So if the Reichsguard have a hard time shutting down that range support, at least they won't be around for too long with that magical damage coming in. But you'll see all the way off to the left over here, the Dryads are falling apart. They're taking a lot of damage from the Wild Riders. The Wild Riders are a great set of units, and this left flank maneuver has been completely slowed down. So great call there by the Blue Alliance. Meanwhile, over here, you'll see these Dryads initially being shot up by some of these Glade Guard with their Starfire shafts, but then instantaneously deciding that instead the better target would be Durthu, and that is a great call. Take down enemy leadership as quickly as possible. So Durthu under fire from fire, and it's going to do a lot of work. You'll see right away as those volleys come through, he is starting to fall apart slowly but surely, and meanwhile you'll notice all the way in the right flank this great aggression over here as the Reichsguard are pushing off to get a nice envelopment, a nice encirclement, and we'll slow it down for a second here as we can see the Orc Boar Boy Biggins as well responding to that aggression. Great movement here. These Wild Riders are pushing away. They don't really stand a chance against all of this, and these Orc Boar Boy Biggins instead pushing into response. So great trading there, great shifting there to make sure that as these large units from the Red Alliance push in, the Blue Alliance is there to respond with some anti-large units of their own. And meanwhile the front line has collided. We have these Orc Biggins charging into the Dryads as well as the Treekin, and the Treeman and Durthu are following up. Very soon they'll be in this engagement as well, and the Orc Biggins do have their work cut out for them. You'll notice off to the side here as well, these Dryads are pushing in, and they decide to get a rear charge over here, but that allows the Black Orcs to push in with a rear charge of their own to get some decent hurt done, while the Goblin Wolf Riders over here do get a nice rear charge into these Dryads just to make sure they get shut down once and for all, scared off the field, while these Wild Riders over here have finished their work with the Dryads and are now able to join back into this central engagement. Meanwhile, you'll see the Reichsguard here continue to push forward. They have a clear avenue, clear access to the rear lines, now able to charge into the Rusty Errors or the Black Orcs even to shut these guys down once and for all. Meanwhile, up front here, you'll see we do have the Sword of Daith coming in from Durthu, forcing these guys to drop their armor quite significantly. The Orc Biggins drop down to just 20 armor, so that is going to make a pretty big difference. Meanwhile, the Glade Lord as well getting involved here just to make sure these Dryads fall apart, and they are now routing. The General of the Empire, though, has something to say about that, is getting involved himself, while you'll see this beautiful volley from the Glade Guard with their Starfire shafts dropping into Durthu, dropping his health significantly. He's already at half health, and with that volley he drops to by about another quarter, roughly, just short of. So great work there, focusing down on Durthu, trying to take care of enemy leadership as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, you'll see the Empire infantry contingent is pushing forward, able to get a decent envelopment here, a decent encirclement, while the cavalry continues to push forward, and the Orc Boar Boy Biggins continuing to respond here. So let's kick it up a notch and take a look at how this all proceeds. You'll see Durthu is basically taken care of, while over here these Wild Riders do get hit by the Net of a Mintok. So great use of the Net of a Mintok there, making sure these Wild Riders aren't able to quickly enter into the fray over here and cause a few more shatters, a little bit more morale damage to some of these Dryads would result in the end of the central engagement for some of these guys. Meanwhile, the General of the Empire as well, hit by the Prey of Anathrema as the Glade Lord decides to dive into melee and try and take care of the General of the Empire once and for all. If both leadership units can be taken care of this early in the battle, then it's basically all said and done. But you'll see here Durthu is on his way out. He is routing right now, while these Black Orcs are trying to give chase to the Reichsguard over here, while down here you'll see the Orc Boar Boy Biggins were just in time to protect the Rusty Errors as they peeled back. The Orc Boar Boy Biggins dive in, and they do cause a significant amount of damage on the charge, of course, and again, they're actually able to keep each and every one of these Night Goblin archers very much alive. So great movement there, great timing. And meanwhile, over here you'll see we do have Gorkle Fix-It going down just to try and I think pin these guys in place, hold them in place, slow them down so Durthu can't get away, and he can be taken care of once and for all, while some of these other units as well can eat some damage from that ranged fire as they are pretty well clumped up. Meanwhile, you'll notice here the Reiksguard are continuing to dive into the Orc Boar Biggins, and that's a bad call. They should have actually peeled away and pushed into the Rusty Arrows here just to make sure that they are shut down once and for all. So a bit of a bad call. They're diving into the Orc Boar Biggins, and though it is able to cause some damage, unfortunately, that's not the most important thing right now. Meanwhile, you'll notice all the way over here, Durthu has fallen under all of that fire, all of that ranged fire. Durthu has decided to leave the battlefield a little abruptly. Meanwhile, over here, these Black Orcs continue to chase after the Reiksguard over here. Not a good call, getting completely shot up and devastated. While in the center, we have a lot going on. We've got Wah activated, Trixie Trap, Spider to Bad Moon, Stand Your Ground. This is a very important engagement, of course, and the Wild Riders now are free to move as well as these Spearmen are closing the gap. They do decide to pull back and stay safe while the Black Orcs over here are falling apart, being chased now by Sigmar's sons while also being shot up by some of these handgunners over there. Meanwhile, the Reiksguard over here are free to move and maneuver as they so choose, while the Rusty Arrows are able to pull back and stay completely safe from the enemy cavalry aggression. Now, as these Reiksguard, though, do peel down this way and decide to get involved and again try to hit the Rusty Arrows, these Orc Boar Biggins decide to disengage and need to pull in and shut this aggression down once more. So again, great call there, great micromanagement, making sure that the Reiksguard aren't free to do as they please, and now the Rusty Arrows, in fact, earlier were obstructed and now are not, so you can see very quickly the morale here dropping. These guys are falling apart. Very well done by the Blue Alliance. Meanwhile, you'll notice in the center, the Red Alliance is falling apart. A lot of these Dryads are beginning to rout and leave the field. Leadership for the Wood Elves has fallen on the Red Alliance. Meanwhile, the General of the Empire as well being chased off by the Glade Lord atop her Forest Dragon. So great call there, making sure that leadership has been taken care of nice and early. You'll notice also now this Tree Man here being finished off just to make sure that he's not able to return and cause more damage because they are very threatening, while down here the Reiksguard finally able to penetrate a little bit and actually destroy some of these Rusty Arrows, make sure they're not able to do too much hurt, and then push into the Glade Guard as well just to try and take care of these guys and finally finish off the range support. So maybe a little too late, but at least the thinking was there, while all the way over here you'll see these Black Orcs continue to be shot up by these handgunners. Now, I do have to say the handgunners were a little wasted here, focusing too much on these Black Orcs that are already taken care of. If instead they had turned around, shifted position, and opened shots at some of these Black Orcs over here, or these Black Orcs, or even into these Wild Riders for a single volley, it would have made an absolutely massive difference, because the handgunners right now, again, firing away at these Black Orcs, they're already taken care of, they're not going to do much, but a little bit of fire into the central engagement over here, and the Flagellants and Sigmar's sons might have come out on top of these Wild Riders or the Black Orcs, but again, just a little bit of mismanagement there of assets. Meanwhile, you'll see over here the Reiksguard that just moments ago I was singing praise of because they were able to shut down the Rusty Arrows and some of these Glade Guard with their Starfire shafts. Very quickly shut down, very quickly responded to as these Wild Riders come bounding in, and the Orc Boar Biggins as well, shutting them down from the rear. So a nice little sandwich we've got going there. Horse meat sandwich. I'm not sure how that tastes, but the Reiksguard are not going to make it out of that situation as they get shot up and completely destroyed. Meanwhile, you'll see in the central situation here, it's mostly the unbreakable units that are sticking around, apart from this one Tree Man, of course, able to stick around as well. We've got Spider to Bad Moon and Stand Your Ground going down once more. Meanwhile, over here, Gork'll Fix It going down. I'm not sure exactly what the purpose was. Maybe just to reduce vigor and give that statistical advantage, but we also have Foss Protection, trying to keep these Flagellants alive and fighting as they take on the Eternal Guard with shields, as well as the Black Orcs. Back here, again, that Reiksguard unit completely taken care of, while up front here, finally the handgunners getting involved, and you'll see how quickly those Wild Riders basically disintegrated, completely off the field, completely taken care of. So finally, some good use of that range support. Meanwhile, the central engagement rages on as the unbreakable units continue to provide some support to the Empire, making sure that the Empire isn't completely lost. Now you'll see some focus fire into this contingent over here as Sigmar's sons are pushing in. They do need to be taken care of. They are unbreakable, so all of those arrows coming in to try and slaughter them before they're able to close the gap and actually get into melee. The Glade Lord as well, maybe a little bit too defensive here, able to push forward and maybe shut down the Flagellants over here, but of course the range units are providing a decent amount of threat as they currently are taking care of the Goblin Wolf Riders, but can very quickly turn on a dime and destroy the Glade Lord or any enemy leadership. Meanwhile, you'll notice in the center here as the Sigmar sons finally dive into melee, they continue to be shot upon by the Glade Guard as well as the Rusty Arrows, and now the Eternal Guard with shields are getting a lot of work done. The Branch Wraith as well, doing a lot of damage, very capable in melee, so the Sigmar sons are going to be taken care of of pretty quickly as well, while the handgunners now once again unsure of what to do, not sure exactly where they can get involved, and still at full health, so neither side has done a good job of shutting down enemy range support, but you'll see they completely missed an opportunity of focusing down on the Glade Lord as she came charging in, and now the Empire is falling apart. Their units are all shattering off the field. The Dryads have given up as well. All that's left are some of the Flagellants and Sigmar's sons. Of course, they are unbreakable, but they can't do enough to hold back the Greenskin Horde, especially as assisted by these Wood Elves of the Blue Alliance. So wonderful battle there. A great attempt, great fighting from both sides, but ultimately a Pyrrhic victory for the Greenskins and the Wood Elves. Now, this battle showed two very contrasted approaches to the field, with the Wood Elves and Greenskins creating a concentrated block that retained mobility with cavalry off on either flank, while the Wood Elves and Empire worked with a much wider formation in the hopes of a complete encirclement instead. The larger cavalry contingent from the Wood Elves and Greenskins meant they were able to take control of the field, and though the Light Wizard did well to hold Wild Riders down in place here or there, in fact I think just the once and then the Goblin Wolf Riders later, he was unable to effectively shut all the moving parts down quickly. There were just too many. Well armed with fire, the Wood Elves and Greenskins had little issue dealing with the trees that marched with the Empire, and though the Empire brought an unbreakable line, the two commanders fleeing and the death of their allies meant victory was for the Greenskins and their Wood Elf allies. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content and keep sending in those battle replays. I do think it's one of the best ways to learn. We've had 100 episodes. I think that's absolutely amazing. Big shout out to you guys for sending in these great battles. It's always nice to see them highlighted from the community. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I'll see you on the battlefield.